I want to introduce The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This was written in serial form, and it was finally published in full in 1880. You can see the Goodreads score here. It's really high. I've looked at a bunch of other books. The audio book length is 35 to 37 hours. I require students in my novel reading for pastors course to read part one, books one, two, and three, which is about 9 hours of reading, kind of like a normal book, but just gives them a taste for the book. And hopefully they will want to continue and finish the book, but it gives them a taste of the characters and the psychology that I want them to learn. There are a number of translations, and I have read the Constant Garnett one from 1912, and it's apparently, according to the critics, not as good as some of the more recent ones. So you may want to try one of the more recent ones. For students who have already read Brothers Karamazov, I want them to read either Middlemarch or Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. So those are also fantastic books that I recommend. Uh, One kind of warning or help for you in reading this book is that uh, I've Frederick Buechner said that there's too many characters, and there's also Russian names. So that's just one of the challenges, and probably the main challenge, I would say, of this book is trying to keep track of their names and their nicknames and who they are. And so the father, and then there are three or four brothers, depending on how you count them, in this book. So the book's called The Brothers Karamazov, and the father, who's kind of awful. His name is Fyodor Pavlovich. And so, Fyodor is similarly the name of the author, the first name. And then there is Ivan and Dmitri, also called Mitya, or Elisha, or Alexei. And then Smirkov is probably the illegitimate son of Fyodor as well. So anyway, this time, not so much with Smirkov, but the other three brothers, I really enjoyed this time. The how especially Ivan and Mitya, I found them really fun in how distorted they are. So let's see here. I mean, just a little bit about the father, just how I characterize them. He's got very base desires: money, sex, food, and alcohol. Follow your glands is his motto. Ivan, reason, frustration with the evil world. Depraved, simple human beings need to be ruled. That's what he thinks. So he's a student. Follow your mind is his motto. Maybe. And Mitya, honor, he's into honor and romance and gallantry and drama. He's a military captain. Maybe follow your heart is his motto. And then Elisha or Alexei are innocent, kind. He's a novice monk. He's a lamb among wolves. And maybe be kind is his motto. And there are too many characters, said Frederick Buechner, maybe, but I really came to be surprised by and enjoy some of them. I mean, some of them are villains, so you're not gonna enjoy all of them, but some of them are funny, and they surprise you. So I enjoyed the kind of secondary characters as well. Um, just the other thing that I'll just mention about is that there are some asides. That's the other kind of problem in this book, is that there are these kind of long asides. So anyway, in scenes and stuff like that. So like there's famously in the later part of the book, there is uh, the Grand Inquisitor. There is a scene with a guy talking to a devil that's long. There is the story of Father Zosima and his backstory, which is long. So there are these kind of long asides. The trial has some period long speeches by the prosecutor and the defense attorney. So anyway, there are just some things to be patient with. There's a lot of monologues. It's kind of a wild ride. So that's just the other challenge is kind of the asides or the kind of long scenes and the long monologues. But hopefully you can enjoy those as well. I found the whole thing I enjoyed. Um, so just a comment about part one, the beginning. I want you to notice Father Zosima, who's the elder, is a pastor, a Russian Orthodox priest, and he is among the chaos at the family meeting at the monastery. They have a meeting there to sort things out, and it kind of is just kind of a mess. And then he goes off and talks with some other people who have gathered to seek his counsel. So that's worth watching, looking at, and thinking about as you've started to understand these characters, the three sons and the father. I think as a pastor, we have those experiences somewhat frequently where you're in a situation where there's a lot of different people talking and people are not on their best behavior and it's a little bit crazy. So I think that's one of the things of the whole book. I would say that's a theme of the whole book is how do you go through the world when there's a bunch of craziness all around you? So where people are talking and people are passionately doing things that you don't agree with or are a little wild. I would encourage you to keep going past part one. Just a teaser is that in part two, the brothers all find romance, so that's worth watching as well and looking forward to. Um, One question here is that there are some great quotes in here. So do you read it fast or slow? It's a huge book. It's famously long book, and the lines are intended to illustrate human nature, and so there's some golden lines. There's a bunch of philosophy in here about how to run civilization and about whether God exists and what kind of God this God is. And my encouragement, and at least for me, is that I keep rolling and I try not to get hung up on individual lines too much, and I just kind of let it all wash over me. And I just read the introduction to the 1990 version, the Pevere, Richard Pevere, his introduction, and I gathered from that as well that like in some ways, Fyodor Dostoevsky's wife said that, like, hey, these were unfinished works. They were, put out, not quite complete or something like that. That I don't know that every line needs to be, memorized or something like that to get the gist of the story and of the characters and the benefit of the reading. So my encouragement, yeah, is to just kind of keep rolling. Again, the characters often give long rants or monologues. I think a lot of times they're drunk, and almost all the brothers give these long speeches. Not Elisha, the innocent one, but the other, Ivan and Dmitri, give long ones all the time, and so does Fyodor Pavlovich, the father, as well. And so I don't think if they keep saying this is a drunken person speaking, it just strikes me that you don't need to memorize and understand every line. So anyway, I think the overall theme is to develop patience and understanding people, and to just see the beautiful diversity of people. And so I think that's accomplished even if you are not catching every single nuance of every sentence. You're kind of keeping going. All right. I thought I'd note that in a lot of novels that I've read and I teach. I just thought they're in this book, and I just thought I'd hint. There's romance, there's murder, children, smart children, uh, precocious children who say the darndest things, money, mental illness, alcohol, sickness, asides on religion and philosophy, dogs. So anyway, those are things to look forward to and know that are in this book. I would say for me, the point is that to grow in your understanding of people. That's one of the real use, useful aspects of reading this book, and then seeing and thinking through goodness, kind of in the midst of all this passionate self-destruction everywhere. Being a person of goodness in the middle there, and that's mostly represented by Elisha and Father Zosima. But that's you don't have to agree with everything they do either to appreciate the novel. I mean, right at the very beginning of the first lines of the book, the narrator says that Elisha is the youngest son. Alexei is the hero of the book. So you can kind of watch that. You don't have to agree with that totally. I think that's not meant 100% seriously. It's okay to also enjoy Dmitri and Ivan. All right. Yeah, we are responsible for everyone. So again, that's part of it, that like, hey, there's all these characters. Remember Buechner, there's too many characters, but one of the phrases is that we're responsible for everyone, that all of them matter. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, I think when we're going through our lives, there's just like all kinds of people we interact with, and just that awareness that each person matters is profound. All right, just a few other comments here. Here's the quote here from Buechner that Eugene Peterson in his uh, book recommendation book. It's called Take and Read, and he gives a bunch of books that he recommends. Eugene Peterson translated the message, was a pastor for 29 years in Maryland, and then taught at Regent College. I had him as a professor there, and then he finished translating the message. He wrote a bunch of pastoring books. And his first novelist that he recommends is is the Brothers Karamazov, and he starts with this quote from Frederick Buechner. Frederick Buechner has described this novel as, quote, that great seething bouillabaisse of a book. It's digressive and sprawling, too many characters in it, much too long, and yet it's a book which, because Dostoevsky leaves room in it for whatever comes up to enter, is entered here and there by maybe nothing less than the Holy Spirit itself, thereby becoming, as far as I'm concerned, what a religious novel at its best can be. That is, a novel less about the religious experience than a novel the reading of which is a religious experience of God, both in his subterranean presence and in his appalling absence, unquote. So that's a speech from Buechner. Buechner was an ordained Presbyterian, PCUSA pastor, and wrote some other great novels as well himself, that are fun. And so that's high praise. And then Peterson also, by the way, I just want to point you to another place, under the unpredictable plant, where he talks about pastoring, and he talks about how he needed somebody to help him to become a pastor. And in the end, who he found was Fyodor Dostoevsky. So that's worth reading as well. That little section where he talks about Dostoevsky in under the unpredictable plant. And this is kind of a memorable thing about it, if you know anything about Eugene Peterson, is that he says, quote, I took my appointments calendar and wrote in 2-hour meetings with FD 3 afternoons a week. From 3 to 5 on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I met with FD in my study and had leisurely conversation through Crime and Punishment, Letters from the Underworld, The Idiot, A Raw Youth, The Devils, and The Brothers Karamazov. I spent those afternoons with a man for whom God and passion were integral and integrated. all winter long through the spring, and a month or two into the summer, I hid away in my study reading Penguin paperbacks translated by David McCarshak and Constance Garnett. And then the crisis was over. Thanks to Dostoevsky, God and passion would never again be at risk, at least vocationally. The God passionate lives of Sonia, Prince Mishkin, Elisha, and Father Zosima furnished my imagination with livable images. I still call up FD occasionally by pulling a book off the shelf and reminiscing over an old conversation. So, just the idea here, I'm just trying to share with you that in some ways, I was inspired initially to read Brothers Karamazov from people like Eugene Peterson, Frederick Buechner, and so many others. Karl Barth also read Dostoevsky, just so many people. And so I'm returning the favor by having you be encouraged to read it. And again, with any huge book like this, it has to be in some ways your choice. I'm having you read the beginning, the part one, to get you into it, and then I'm giving you the invitation to finish it. But it's also okay if you just can't get into it. It's just too hard sledding. That there are some options as well for alternatives besides at least reading that beginning. But I do just I guess you have to kind of take it as my word or my recommendation that I found it really rich to take in and have the humor, the insight, the commentary, the um, philosophical remarks from Dostoevsky in Brothers Karamazov wash over me, and it's helped me navigate the world, the crazy world that I live in as well. And just finally, I'll just say again the introduction to the Richard Pevere and Larissa Volkolansky translation from 1990. Those two introductions that are in the beginning of that book are really great. Jessica Hooton Wilson has a couple books that include analysis of Dostoevsky. Her book Walker Percy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and the Search for Influence, and also Giving the Devil His Due, Demonic Authority in the Fiction of Flannery O'Connor and Fyodor Dostoevsky. So that's a great author to learn a little bit more from Dostoevsky. Rowan Williams was the Archbishop of Canterbury, extremely brilliant theologian, and he has a book as well called Dostoevsky, Language, Faith, and Fiction that I recommend. It's intense, it's dense, it's brilliant, so kind of above my pay grade, but I've enjoyed delving into it as well. So those would be some other resources. I think for you to delve into stuff if you have questions or you want to read analysis, but I'm almost also putting them here as like, hey, there are some great people who have really recommended this, and so maybe some of that will help you to sustain your reading through. So again, maybe read on Kindle. I heard Alan Jacobs say that it helped him to get a Kindle and read on a Kindle because it's just thinner and helped his eyes and that kind of stuff. So maybe you didn't want to do that. I heard somebody else who used a Kindle and it kind of read aloud to them. That helped them. I know audiobooks can sometimes help with a large book like this, and different translations, that kind of stuff. So anyway, use all the tools. I think that's fair game to use all the tools in order to kind of work through this long book. So that's your introduction to the Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I highly recommend anybody to read it. I think it's really rich. In particular, I think pastors, chaplains would do well to read this. It would be good for you, and it's rich, and I think you'll enjoy it too. There's some funny things in it, and I think it's satisfying ending basically. And I just think throughout, even the asides, when you think about it, you think, yeah, this was good for me to read the the um, the Grand Inquisitor it was useful for me to read this kind of long exchange with this devil in the corner. So anyway, I think in the end, even those kind of digressions, they're rewarding. You'll be thankful for them. So go read, enjoy this book. That's all I have for now.